Remember when McDonald's handed out the coolest toys?
Your kids get a regular-sized soft drink, a regular-sized fries, a hamburger or cheeseburger, and a McDonald's Land cookie sampler.
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi, the Y2K.
The 90s, a simpler time when people only had to worry about their parents picking up the phone while they're on the internet and what color of plaid shirt they wanted to wrap around their waist. I was born in 1991, so I wasn't into the grunge scene. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know the scene I was a part of. However, there was also another scene I was a part of. No, not the Cool Kids Club, but I'm flattered you'd think that. I was all about those Happy Meal toys at McDonald's. I still have some of them. They're buried somewhere under the stairs in my basement, but they're there. No matter your stance on McDonald's and fast food in general today, it was a big part of many kids' childhoods. There was an excitement when your parents would pull into the McDonald's drive-thru and ask what kind of Happy Meal you wanted. For many of us, it was the first time we got to make an independent decision. Did we want a burger, cheeseburger, or chicken nuggets? It was a kind of thrill that can't be replicated once you've passed a certain age. Along with making this choice, you knew you would be getting a surprise toy, most likely one from a movie or TV show tie-in. These memories brought on a certain curiosity in me on where the Happy Meal and the toy came from. For that, we have to go back a bit further, to the mid-1970s. Yolanda Fernandez de Cofino ran a McDonald's restaurant in Guatemala and created a menu that translated to English as the Ronald menu. It comprised of a hamburger, small fries, and a small sundae for children. This was brought to the attention of management in the United States, and Bob Bernstein came up with the idea for the Happy Meal. I mean, technically he just stole Yolanda's idea and made it his own, which is basically the foundation on which the McDonald's franchise was built anyway. It debuted in June 1979 and came in a similar classic paperboard box it does today, complete with the McDonald's arches acting as handles.
Different Happy Meal boxes, 6 different special prizes.
Dad, a Happy Meal.
Not everyone was too pleased with this idea though. In November 2010, San Francisco banned toys from being served with meals unless they met a certain nutritional standard. That's right, they regulated Happy Meal toys because they saw them as bad for children. I guess if they started packaging M16s with the kids' meals, that'd be okay. The toys became more elaborate over the years, and like I said before, were mostly tie-ins to other IPs, and the 90s was peak Happy Meal toys time. Instead of talking about just a couple toys from the decade, I decided to do a top 10 list of the best McDonald's Happy Meal toys the 90s had to offer. This is all opinion based and what I connected to most as a kid, so I'm sorry if I missed your personal favorites. Let's get into it. These Tiny Toon cars hit Happy Meals everywhere in 1991. The toys were based on the Warner Brothers cartoon series Tiny Toon Adventures. It was an attempt to make Looney Tunes cool and hip for a younger generation, and it worked. This was years before Michael Jordan would make them cool again. Jordan found more success making Looney Tunes cool again than he did making the Hitler stash cool again. I remember Tiny Toon Adventures being popular even though I only saw a handful of episodes and reruns. These cars could flip from one character to the next just by pushing down and then turning the car over. There were 4 versions of the Tiny Toon flip cars. You had Plucky Duck turning into Babs Bunny, Buster Bunny turning into Elmira, Go-Go Dodo turning into Montana Max, and Dizzy Devil turning into Hampton. This is the only Happy Meal toy on this list I never owned. I put it at number 10 though because I have a distinct memory of growing up and seeing these toys at flea markets, garage sales, and any other second-hand places. So it was clearly a very popular toy. The Mighty Ducks Pucks ran in 1997 and is the first Disney IP on this list. The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim were an NHL team that were founded by Disney in 1993 before selling it away in 2005, with their name being changed to just simply the Anaheim Ducks. The Mighty Ducks film starring Emilio Estevez was released in 1992, but these pucks weren't to promote that film. The Mighty Ducks had an animated series that ran for 2 seasons starting in 1996. Unlike the film and the actual NHL team, the Mighty Ducks consisted of ducks that played hockey and fought the forces of evil in their spare time. Kind of like in real life when Getzlaf and Perry would fight the evil Montreal Canadiens. McDonald's didn't skimp on this toy. It was a full-size hockey puck featuring 4 different characters from the animated series on top. The bottom of the puck had metal balls that allowed it to glide on flat surfaces like a puck would on ice. I remember playing a game with them with my friend by sliding them on top of the dinner table and see who could get to the closest on the edge without falling off. Basically, it was a Mighty Ducks shuffleboard. The 4 characters featured were Mallory McMallard, Duke Orange, Nosedive Flashblade, and Nosedive's older brother Wildwing, who was clearly the coolest because when I was young I was a big fan of goalies. These toys may not have connected with everyone, but growing up as a Leafs fan near Toronto, there was nothing my little Canadian heart loved more. Beanie Babies. What can I say about Beanie Babies? I could do an entire episode on the Beanie Baby craze of the 90s. People were clamoring for these little stuffed animals. Many believed that these would only go up in value and thought it would pay for their kids' education and lead them to a fruitful retirement. Well, they turned out to just be a fad. Every time I hear Beanie Babies brought up, I think of this photo of a couple sorting their Beanie Baby collection in a courtroom during their divorce proceedings. This one photo encapsulates everything you need to know about the Beanie Baby craze. My family and I collected them, but not on the scale of other people. We maybe had about 12 of these little guys around the house, and it was the first time I was introduced to the idea of collecting anything. McDonald's did not want to miss out on this fad with kids and collectors. They introduced 10 different Beanie Babies, urging people to collect them all. There was Liz the Lizard, Quacks the Duck, Snort the Bull, Seymour the Seal, Goldie the Fish, Speedy the Turtle, Chocolate the Moose, Chops the Lamb, Patty the Platypus, and Pinky the Flamingo. I had 2 of these, and both of them were Pinky the Flamingo. I should have held on to them and collected that $12 for the 2. That's nothing but profit, baby. The Disney Renaissance took place during the 1990s, and one of the films was 1997's Hercules. This was and still is one of my favorite Disney films. Something about the story connected with me, and the music was great. I will still jam out to Zero to Hero in the car. I feel now it's one of the least mentioned films during the Disney Renaissance era, being outshined by films like Lion King and The Beauty and the Beast. Plus, it has arguably one of the most entertaining Disney villains of all time. Like most Disney films, this made its way to Happy Meals the same year, so you know I had to get my hands on some of these toys. They were packaged as a 2-for-1. Every Happy Meal came with 2 Hercules toys, with the bigger one acting as a container for the smaller action figure. I only remember having Baby Pegasus with the Lava Titan and Calliope with the Ice Titan. However, there were 10 total toys that I never got a chance to collect all of. There was Hermes with the Wind Titan, Zeus with the Rock Titan, Pain with Cyclops, Panic with the Fates, Meg with Pegasus, Phil with Nessus, Hades with Cerberus, and of course Hercules with Hydra.
Thought he was the strongest guy in the world. Till he took us to McDonald's. They have Hercules.
McNugget Buddies were first introduced in 1988, but it wasn't until 1993 that we got the Halloween McNugget Buddies. They were little McNuggets dressed up in classic Halloween costumes like a ghost, pumpkin, witch, Frankenstein, Dracula, and a mummy. I put this on the list because there was always a different kind of excitement leading up to the holidays as a kid. There was a feeling in the air that I think McDonald's captured with these toys. It got you in that childlike mood for Halloween in the same way when you watched Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, or Casper during October. These were the parts of Halloween I loved when I was growing up. There's a reason the first video I did on TJF was the Halloween special. Those things just hit differently, the same way the Christmas specials do. This wasn't the only time in the 90s though that the McNugget Buddies had made an appearance on the McDonald's Happy Meal menu. They were brought back again in 1996 with a Spider, Rockstar, Godzilla, Goblin, Princess, and Ronald McDonald with removable costumes. You know, just in case you want to take them out of their costume for the rest of the year. They would look ridiculous dressed up in Halloween outfits in January. What a shock, another Disney Happy Meal toy on the list, and it won't be the last. These came out in 1997 to promote the re-release of The Little Mermaid in theaters on Thanksgiving Day. They were appropriately made to be water-resistant bath toys. The catch with these though was 1 in 10 were painted gold. It added a little bit extra to collectors trying to get a full gold set, and made people keep coming back hoping to get lucky. It's kind of like trying to get a chase with Funko Pops today, just without the diabetes. The Little Mermaid is okay for me, however it wasn't ever my favorite film, and today I don't think I would even put it in my top 10 Disney films. So then why is it on this list for me, you might ask? Let me explain. There were 8 toys to collect. There was Ursula, which was different from every other one because it was an inflatable balloon toy. Then you had Flounder, Scuttle, Ariel, Max the dog, Clet, Eric, and the only one I had, Sebastian. I used to love being in or around the water when I was a kid, whether it be the pool, the beach, or even the bathtub. I even remember playing with Happy Meal toys in the kitchen sink. The Sebastian toy I had was actually one of those rare gold ones, but at that time I had no idea it was rare. This specific toy has stuck with me throughout my entire life for the one reason that I hated the fact that Sebastian was not red like his character in the film. I would look at Sebastian out of all the toys I had every time being so confused as to why he was gold. It continued to pop into my head as I grew up. It was like this strange conspiracy theory I had throughout my life as to why this toy was gold, and yet I never bothered to look it up. It wasn't until making this video that I realized the reason it was gold, and I feel like I solved a lifelong mystery. I only hope now that I held on to this toy and it's somewhere in the house, because what a weird memory for me to hold on to all these years. I fully expected this to be McDonald's putting their own spin on the success of Transformers, but after doing some research, it turns out the McDonald's changeables were first introduced in 1983, 1 year before Transformers hit store shelves. Those were simply changeables though. The ones I chose for this list were released in 1990 and 1991 and were called McDino changeables. They were McDonald's menu items that transformed into dinosaurs, and they were awesome. Someone in my family must have gotten one before I was born, because I remember having the French fry changeable. It was fun to flip back and forth and acted more as a fidget toy than anything else. Little did I know that each toy had its own dinosaur-inspired name. There was the Happy Mealodon, McDino Cone, Hot Cakeodactyl, Fryceratops, Big Macosaurus Rex, Triceratops, McNuggetsosaurus, and the Quarter Pounder with Cheeseosaur. Kinda reaching a bit on that last one. These were seemingly the dad jokes of McDonald's Happy Meal toys.
One toy with each Happy Meal you buy!
Who remembers the straight-to-video sequel of The Lion King called Lion King 2: Simba's Pride? Well, I don't. I'm not even sure if I saw it, but the original Lion King is another one of my favorite Disney films of all time. In 1998, McDonald's released Lion King plushies to help promote the sequel. I knew no different and just wanted the plushies because I was familiar with the characters. Well, the ones that were in the first film at least. The new characters included Zyra, Kiera, who I'm sure I just assumed was Nala, and Kovu, who I probably also assumed was just Scar. I wanted these plushies though because my boys Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa were all options, and I gots to have them. Oh, and Zazu and Rafiki were there too, but 7-year-old me didn't really care too much about them. I'm gonna be honest with you all though. I actually listed this a bit higher than I probably would based on the sole fact that BuzzFeed listed these plushies as the worst Happy Meal toy of the 90s. So just to spite them, the Lion King 2 plushies gets the number 3 spot. This is the second appearance of Furbies on my channel. If you want to watch the video I did on the complete history of the Furby craze, I'll put a link to it below this video. For those of you who don't plan on watching that and somehow don't know what a Furby is, it was arguably the hottest toy of the 90s. In 1999, McDonald's released their own line of Furby Happy Meal toys. That's right, a toy based on a toy. Someone called Leo because we have Toyception. If you couldn't get your hands on a Furby, these were the next best thing. They were about 1/3 the size of a regular Furby and were hard plastic. The reason I put Furby so high on this list is because it encapsulates the 90s toy craze. And I'm pretty sure we had most, if not all of them. Growing up, my uncle had a parrot in the basement named Bianca. Whenever my aunt would go to McDonald's, she'd bring home a new Furby toy and place it in Bianca's cage. There were way too many Furbies in that cage, but it's such a fond memory of growing up that I have to put it at number 2. Speaking of number 2, I'm sure those Furbies were covered in bird poop. Disney Home Video Masterpiece Collection. By far the longest name for a Happy Meal toy on this list. This tops out my entire list for a few reasons. It featured many classic Disney films, they came in tiny VHS cases, and I still have a full collection under the stairs. In fact, it is the only complete Happy Meal collection I've ever had. These toys were about as high quality as you can get for a Happy Meal toy, from the toy itself to the packaging it came in. I know that isn't saying much, but in comparison to everything else on this list, it doesn't even compare. The first batch of 8 came out in 1996 and featured Aladdin, Pocahontas, Robin Hood, Merlin, Alice, Snow White, Scat Cat, and Cinderella. Speaking of Scat Cat, nope, I'm not going to touch that joke. Then in 1997 they came back with 8 more classic Disney films and characters with Woody, Simba, Aurora, Bambi, Dumbo, Donald Duck, Elliot, Tigger, and Dodger. These toys checked all the boxes for my nostalgic mind. Happy Meal toy, check. Disney movies, check. VHS cases, check. You may disagree and have your own personal favorites, but the Disney Home Video Masterpiece Collection embodies the reason I put this list together in the first place.
One in each $1.99 hamburger Happy Meal you buy your kids.
My favorite's Merlin. No, Aladdin.
Guess we know Aggie's favorites.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane with me. If you had a favorite Happy Meal toy from the 90s that I missed, leave a comment and tell me why you have such a strong connection to it. What I learned most from this video was that I really need to clean under my basement stairs. Bye everyone.